I'm at my in-laws today, so I'm a bit light on equipment. So I've just got a bed pillow. I've just got a bit of floor space. Whatever you've got to work with is all good. We are going to be working a little later with half moon, which is helpful to have a couch, a chair, a yoga block if you've got one, but just something low nearby. So maybe even just noting for yourself now what that might be for you, just so you don't have to think fresh about it when we get to that point. But when you're ready, settling in, finding a comfortable seat, supported underneath your bottom, your legs, your feet, tall through the spine. And you could rest palms facing down if you like, if you're looking just for that little bit of settling, that little bit of focusing in. It might be nice to gently close the eyes or just find a spot in front of you to rest your gaze. And I invite you to arrive into your space. It's normal and natural to bring some of our day with us. So just acknowledging whatever that is for you, whether there's things that you're still feeling in your body, whether there are conversations or events still processing in your mind, just gently acknowledging what those might be. We don't have to push or shove them away. We can let them be there. Can we really feel into the hips, the sitting bones? And I'm just going to talk us through a grounding visualization today. So we're going to focus on grounding, on our connection downwards, on being here in this present moment. So I invite you to focus on those points of connection between your body and the pillow, the mat, the floor, whatever is underneath you. Perhaps each time you breathe out, just letting the hips sink a little further. Now I invite you to visualize a root coming off the base of the spine that goes deep, deep down into the earth. And this root moves quite quickly and silently, easily through the earth, creating this really deep, really strong anchor for us here. And as we continue to breathe steadily, this root continues downwards. And as this root continues downwards, we start to draw some of that strength up through the spine. So from the base of the tailbone, extending, expanding through each section of the spine, all the way up to the crown of the head, in a way that is upright and strong, but not too rigid. And with this space that we've created, we can breathe perhaps a little more fully. So just watching your breath here for a few rounds. Can we feel up the base of the lungs, drawing the diaphragm down, feeling a bit of an expansion through the belly. As we breathe out, feeling our body sink and settle and be supported here by the earth underneath us. And as moments from our day just come into our focus, gently acknowledging them and shifting our focus back to this root going down into the earth, to this solid, steady base. That gentle breath coming and going. And we'll just take a couple more breaths here, in and out. And then we'll just find some gentle arm flows with the breath. So inhale, we reach the arms out and up overhead. Palms coming to touch. Exhale, let's come down through the center line of the body. And we'll do that a few times, cycling around. So inhale, coming out and up, palms to touch. Exhale, down through the center. And you might like to visualize with this inhale, gathering up everything you need right now. Exhale, drawing it down within, connecting to the base of the body, to this root, to this sense of groundedness and stability. And we'll take one more round here. As you draw the hands down between or down the middle of the body, you might interlace the fingers and push the palms away, coming into a little bit of a cat arch here. So the shoulders around the spine, comes back behind, and then we'll release the hands to center and we'll come through again. So coming back up, tall spine, arms reaching up and together. As we come down through center, about when we reach the heart, let's crisscross the fingers and push them away. So we get this nice rounding the hips, tilt a little back, just as far as you need to go for it to feel nice for the spine today. And then gently releasing, coming back tall with the spine. Let's do 2 more full rounds like that, just with a smooth, steady breath. If you find a breathing rhythm that works really well for you, stick with that. Otherwise, just stay breathing steadily. Making this your last time through when you're ready. And then coming up tall. And let's certainly find some side bends now. So same start, inhale, out and up, palms together. Let's release the right hand to the floor as the left arm just reaches over, however far you need to get a nice side stretch. And then we'll come back up. We're going to come upright and just touch the palms together here, a bit of a chance to recenter, and then releasing the left arm down. So find that back and forth with your breath in a rhythm that works for you, to a depth that works for you. And can we really feel into that bottom connecting hands, feeling the way the fingers spread wide and carry that load, the softness in the elbow that gives us that little bit of give over to the side. Let's do 1 more each side. You can bring that lifting hand down if it becomes a little bit much to leave them up all the time. And let's touch the hands together and come down through center. And then we'll come over onto all fours. So finding hands and knees when you're ready. We're just going to work through a short little flow. So firstly, we're going to come back to child's pose, drawing the hips back towards the heels. With a bit of softness in the elbows, we're going to scoop the chest and the belly forward. So a little bit like our typical cow pose, and we lift up to tabletop, and then we're going to arch the back into our typical cat position and then draw back to child's pose. So circling around like that, we slide the heart forwards with a little bit of an arch down. We've still got some engagement in the belly though. We're not just flopping the front of the body without any containment there. So bending into your elbows as much as you need for that scoop and reach forwards, feeling into the way the hips are tilting, what's happening in the spine for you today. Let's take 2 more full rounds through, however deep you need to go. Feel steady and supported. And then the next time we settle back, let's find that child's pose, hips settling back towards the heels. You can stay here a little longer, maybe finding some support for the head. Can we breathe into that middle lower back space? Now there's this little bit of a press into the belly with the legs. Can you feel the expansion in the back of the body as we breathe? Let's take 1 more full breath here. And then we'll release. We'll make our way up. Coming up to tabletop, nice flat neutral spine here. We're going to come into a little bit of strengthening movements for the hips. So let's bring our weight into the left leg. We're still pushing strong through both hands. Lifting the right knee straight out to the side with the same bend in the knee. So we're not straightening out the leg. And we're just going to reset it back down underneath the hip. So lifting the right knee out to the side and then coming back down. As much as possible, we're aiming to keep everything else stable. There will be a bit of movement in the back of the hips, but not all that much, even if that means that the movement out to the side is really small. Can we feel the back of the neck, the back of the head lifting a little here rather than flopping and hanging the head down? We're active across the upper back. And you can stay with this lift out to the side, however big or small it is for you, or you might want to circle it around. So we still take that starting lift the same direction and then do a big circle with the knee and come back in from the back rather than from the side. So we can circle out to the side and just keep looping it around in a way that feels comfortable for your hips. But staying on the same leg here, each time that knee comes under you, you could choose whether you touch it back down and share the weight between the legs again, or whether you keep the weight in that supporting left leg to build a little bit more intensity there perhaps. Let's take 2 more rounds, making sure you're breathing smoothly and steadily, whether you're going straight out and down or whether you're taking that loop around. And then let's touch down with the right knee, taking a bit of movement here, maybe a side to side wiggle, maybe cat and cow. You might find child's pose and bring the weight out of the wrists for a little bit here. When you're ready, let's find our way back up to tabletop, resetting for the other side. So this time the right knee is anchoring into the floor. The left knee is going to go straight out to the side and then come back underneath. And it's easy to think that the left leg, the moving leg, is doing all the work. And while it is working pretty hard, our stabilizing limbs are key. So the way the hands press down into the floor, helping the chest lift up and away. All the muscles around that right hip and leg that are holding us steady while we move these big muscles are doing an awful lot for us. If you want to add in that loop, you can, taking the legs straight out to the side and then circling around, coming back in underneath. Again, maybe you release the weight out of that right leg a little before going through the next round, completely up to you. Can we find our smooth, steady breath? Can we find that solid base here to work from? Let's take 1 more full round with your breath. As we come underneath, let's find child's pose, knees perhaps a little wider as we take the hips back. Maybe you reach the arms long, or you might bring them under the head for some support here. Again, breathing into the back body, letting all of the points of contact sink and soften down. Just allowing ourselves to be where we are for a few moments. And then slowly coming back up. From all fours, let's extend the left leg back behind us. We're going to tuck the left toes under, pushing into the back of the leg a little, just feeling perhaps some stretching down the calf and the hamstrings. Then we're going to make our way into a gate pose. So this left lower leg, sorry, the right lower leg underneath us is going to go away behind us. We bring our weight over to our right hand, and that left hand reaches up. So hopefully if you're facing the screen, we should have reversed each other. Beautiful. And so we've got a little bit of a bend in this supporting hand. Let's think about the base here, strong through the bottom hand, the bottom lower leg, the back foot, to give us this base to reach up tall and open the front of the body. Can we feel this bit of space across the chest? You could take this top hand away a little behind you if you feel like you've got the space to do so. If you'd like to, we can turn the palm towards our head and reach long over the ear. Only if that feels good for the shoulder and the back. If it's better for you to stay upright, you can definitely stay there. And from either position, you can either stay connected with this back foot, or we can start to lift here. Lifting any amount, you might hover it a tiny bit. You might want to lift and lower a few times. Feeling into the sensations with your breath. Let's take one last full breath here. And then we're going to draw in those limbs. So just slowly tuck them back towards the center as we round back to tabletop. Beautiful. Again, taking whatever you need here, whether it's a walk out of the wrists, a few breaths in child's pose. Take your time to Do whatever's right for you here. And then we're going to come gently up and find the other side. So right leg going back this time, tucking the toes under. Can we find that length in the back of the leg? And then let's spin that back foot flat so the toes point away to the side. This lower leg underneath us comes away behind us. And we press into the left hand this time, opening up tall with the right. Can we check in with that bit of softness in the bottom elbow to really help us press that palm down? Maybe that top hand reaches a little away. We feel space through the chest, the belly, the front of the hips here. Maybe you turn the palm and reach long over the ear. That side length stretch can feel super lovely. And then from either arm position, do you want to keep anchored through that back foot, or do you want to have a go at lifting with a smooth, steady breath, regardless of where we are? And then when you're ready, let's start to tuck in the elbow and the knee towards the belly a little as we round back down and plant with as much control as we can. And let's just take a few more breaths in child's pose, easing the hips back, releasing the wrists. You might bend the elbows, bring the wrists off the floor for a little bit of a cycle through. If your head comfortably reaches the floor here, you might even like to bring both palms together, bending the elbows so the palms come into a prayer position just behind the head. You could walk the elbows a little bit further forwards, getting quite a stretch through the tricep, through the armpit, the upper chest. Let's take 2 more breaths wherever you are. And then we'll support ourselves back up to all fours, finding downward dog from here. So tucking the toes under, let's take the hips high, really pressing into the hands and the feet. We can take a bit of a pedal here, bending one knee, straightening the other to feel that length down the back of the legs. And from here, it's up to you. You're welcome to stay in downward dog. You're welcome to explore this next movement. If you're wanting to explore this next movement, but it feels too strong in downward dog, just come back to all fours and we can do it similar to that other hip movement that we did. We're just going to alternate legs. So we're going to lift one heel up towards the sky. So coming towards 3-legged dog. From here, we're going to bend that knee and cycle it around the side and back through underneath us, touching down. So we're going to alternate legs. We'll lift the opposite heel up towards the sky. When you're ready, bending the knee and taking that knee in a circle round to the side and the knee coming back under the body as we touch down. And so from all fours, it's the opposite of that movement we did before. We're taking the leg out the back, bending the knee and bringing it around to the side underneath us. And we can do that on the other side, lengthening, lifting the leg, bending the knee and coming around the side underneath. And so we're just taking a few times through those hip movements in the opposite direction, really strong and even through the shoulders. Particularly when we lift one foot off, there's a tendency to kind of spin the chest, but see if you can stay strong and even through the chest, through the shoulders, through the arms. And only make these movements as big or as small as you need to feel a good stretch through the hips. And strong and supported. Let's take one last round, finishing off that round wherever you're up to. And then when you're ready, we'll walk our downward dog back to a standing forward fold or coming to forward fold, however works for you. Knees softly bent, belly and chest connecting here, top of the head softening towards the floor. Then let's take a bit of a roll up to stand, softening the knees, a slow, steady curl, gradually, smoothly up through the spine. And a bit of a roll and release here. Finding ourselves in our mountain pose, feet a comfortable distance apart. Perhaps turning the palms in towards the legs, or maybe turning them out in front of you. Can we feel that connection through the feet here? And coming back to that visualization of roots from the base of the feet this time, so feeling all the parts of the feet connecting. You may like to close your eyes, but can we imagine a strong connection down through the soles of the feet, going beyond our body down into the earth? And as we did before, those roots moving quickly and silently, and then we can rebound from that support. We can grow up tall through the spine. I'm taking 2 more smooth, steady breaths here. Now let's find our salute to the sun. So coming to the front of your space, having some room behind you here. Let's come into some standing side bends first of all. So we'll inhale, lifting the arms out and up, holding onto the right wrist with the left hand, extending up tall, and then easing away to the left, just a long side bend here. And coming back to center, we'll swap the hands over, lifting and lengthening over to the right. Let's do 1 more to each side with our breath smooth and steady here. And then we'll come back up, palms facing forwards, really engaging down through this support, a bit of a soft knee bend, lifting the heart a little, lifting the gaze a little, feeling that gentle back bend here. Inhale, let's come upright, and then forward folding, not soft bend through the knees, belly to thighs. Coming down to connect the fingertips to the floor or the legs here. Perhaps a bit of heaviness and softness in the neck, maybe a gentle nod forwards and backwards. Maybe a gentle side to side with the head. And then fingertips to touch. We're going to step back with the right leg. Take a nice big generous step back, bringing that knee down. Let's find our low lunge. Connecting strong through both feet. You're welcome to keep both hands on the floor through this next sequence, or you could bring them up onto the knee here. Either way, we're strongly connected downwards. How firmly can we push the whole of this front foot and the back leg? If you need some padding under the back knee, you can add that in at any time. If you could stay here with the hands on the thigh, or we could come through that arm flow, the inhale out and up, bring the palms to touch. Exhale down. And coming through again. This time with the exhale, adding that bit of a round and a reach of the palms away forwards. Releasing tall. And then 1 more time, we'll take those side bends. So palms to touch at the top, and then releasing one hand down as the other reaches up and over. Coming up through center, and we'll do the same to the other side, the other arm drawing down, a little bit of an extend over to the side. And then to touch, we'll finish off, we'll all meet with our hands back down. Let's step back for plank. You could bring that foot around the side, or you could lift the back knee and shoot the foot through. Finding our plank with knees down, so wrists under shoulders, really strong and connected through the hands. Let's lift that space in between the shoulder blades up towards the ceiling. Let's just take a few rounds with the breath. So inhale, we bend the elbows, lower any amount, and exhale, push back up. So we've got the back of the neck long, the gaze is just in front of the hands. And we're going only as far as we can control it. If you feel your shoulder blades winging together or your chest kind of suddenly dropping down, we want to take the next movement a little smaller. Let's take 2 more. All right, and let's tuck the toes coming back to the heels with the hips. From here, let's come back to that circle we were doing through at the start, where we pull the heart through and forwards, that little bit of a cow dip here, and then arching back to child's pose. So it's almost like the hands are drawing the chest forwards. And we're using that strength through the hands to cycle back to the hips. We'll take one more time through with your breath. And then depending on the surface you're working on tonight, this will be more or less easy. But bringing the forearms down this time, as we draw the heart forwards, we're actually going to slide the forearms away. So we're leading with the heart, hopefully coming to a point where we can bring the belly down from the hips down. So we're strongly connected from the elbows down to the hands. We've got the tops of the feet pressing in, the front of the hips pressing in, and the heart is drawing forwards. In our Sphinx pose here, just finding a few steady breaths and connecting into our base in a different way. So we haven't done any kind of front of the body contact yet. So how does the floor feel on your feet, your hips, your forearms? Can we use that base? Can we almost draw the chest forwards with the arms? Using that solid base to find space in the body. Let's take two more smooth, steady breaths here. And then a gentle rolling release back down. Let's bring ourselves back to child's pose. Pressing the hips up and over, just touching down here with the bottom back towards the heels. And then finding our way up to downward dog. So you could go straight up from that child's pose position. You might come back towards all fours first, tucking the toes, taking the hips high. Finding a smooth, steady breath. You could stay connected with 2 feet, or you could lift 1 foot here. If you're lifting 1 foot and you'd like to, you can bend the knee and just take some circles with that knee in whatever direction you like. We've already worked kind of with both directions through those hips. So take it whichever way makes sense for you. You could do a couple of cycles in each direction. We're still strong through the hands, pushing the chest back towards the knees. And then let's swap those legs over if you're taking one up. You're always welcome to bring these types of movements down to all fours. It's a great way to do the same strengthening work through the hips with a bit more support. Or you could leave them out altogether and stay in your downward dog or tabletop or child's pose. Then when you're ready, let's step forwards with the right foot. So bring the right foot up towards the hands. Whether it makes it or not doesn't matter. We can bring that left knee down and shuffle it through. Setting ourselves up for lunge, whether you've got the hands down or the hands on the thigh. Let's engage strongly down into the floor. As you push down, what parts of the legs, the bottom, the hips do you feel switch on here? What pays attention when we really press into our base? And if you'd like to come through that arm sequence, let's do that together now. That inhale out and up. Humming through center with the exhale. Coming out and up. And that next time through, linking the fingers, pushing the palms away, a little bit of a rounding forwards of the spine. Releasing when you're ready. And then finding that side bend. Palms touch at the top. One hand comes down, the other reaches up and over. And taking the other side in your own breath, in your own time. And then let's all meet hands down on the floor and we'll find our forward fold, lifting the back knee here. A little bit of a ease back into that back knee to push ourselves forwards. Feet a comfortable distance apart, belly resting onto the thighs, really supported here. Maybe you want to keep your hands connected to the floor or the legs. Maybe prefer to hold opposite elbows. You could find a little movement here if that feels nice. And then releasing the hands, let's slowly, steadily roll up. You could let the arms dangle or walk them up the body here. Gradually arriving with a big roll of the shoulders. Finding that space for the arms to settle. Breathing into that space that's created when we're firmly anchored and we draw the spine up tall, we get all this extra space through the lungs and the diaphragm. Breathing into that space that's created here. Knowing that there's nowhere else we need to be in this moment. So if other thoughts come, we can gently remember that that's normal and natural. Bring our focus back to that connection through the feet, to the breath that's coming and going. Let's take one more breath here. And then a little bit of a squeeze, perhaps of the fingers. If you want to grab yourself a drink, now's a great time to do that. We'll come into some standing poses. And so once you're ready, we're going to work with some little lunge step backs that we did in person yesterday down by the river. So we're standing at the front of our space. We're going to step one foot back. It's not going to matter which foot because we're going to alternate sides. So taking a step back, keep it small and comfortable to begin with. As we go, you might want to explore a little bit more depth or a little bit more length. We've got a bit of softness in the knees. And then the same hand as your back leg is going to come up and over. And then as the hand swings down and through, we're going to step back forwards. So it's a little bit of momentum as the hand, so we're going to go opposite side now. As the hand reaches over and back, we're stepping back. A little bit of softness in the knees, and then using that momentum to step us back through. So just coming through a few times side to side. And again, while you're just getting used to the movement, it's great to start small and controlled, or depending on how your balance is feeling today. It can be more or less challenging. Just taking a few with a smooth, steady breath. If you want to make it more challenging, of course, we've got the bigger step back and a lower dip down with those knees. Beautiful. Let's do one more each side. And then the next time you come through and step back with the left leg, let's stay there. So we'll take the arm back with us, but we'll just end up with both arms down beside us. We've got our right knee over the ankle at the front, firmly connected through that foot. And we're going to work with this back foot a little bit. So you might want a slightly shorter stance than normal. So we're just going to work forwards and backwards here, trying to get a bit of mobility through the bottom of the foot, maybe feeling into the calf, using the ankle here for stability. So just working forwards and backwards at the moment. If this feels really comfortable and stable for you, maybe explore what it feels like to take the heel of the foot, the back foot, side to side. You might feel some interesting muscles activating through the foot, through the ankle, through the lower leg. If it doesn't feel great for you, come back to that forwards and backwards movement. We're a lot more familiar with that one. If the side to side's feeling good, you might even see what it feels like to go around in a little bit of a circle. It's all experimentation. If you need to step that foot in to take a lot of pressure out of that back foot, you can. You can work with the feet much closer together. The further back we are, the more weight we're putting through this foot with that mobility work. And then we're going to allow the heel to come down and we're going to spin the back foot. So we're coming into warrior two. We've got the right knee over the ankle here, pressing firmly through that foot. This left foot might be straight out to the side wall. It might be on the angle. And just extending, lengthening and then bending this right knee a few times. And we're aiming, if you think about your hips or your pelvis as a bucket of water, we're aiming to have it relatively level. It doesn't have to be exactly level. But rather than sort of tipping over to the side, we're trying to stay quite upright and quite stacked with the ribs over the hips. When you feel ready, you might stay in your warrior two, that knee finding its place roughly over the ankle, strong through the feet. We can even imagine we're trying to push them away from each other across the floor. You can get some nice activation there in the glutes. If you'd like to add in the arms, we can extend the fingertips out wide as if we're reaching to opposite ends of the room and bringing the gaze over these right fingertips. Can we find a smooth, steady breath here? Some focus with the gaze. And then let's find our exalted warrior. So we're going to turn that front palm up, lifting the right hand up towards the ceiling as the back hand finds that extended leg. And so we're lifting and reaching through this right hand side of the body. And then we'll come through side angle. We'll come back through warrior two, bending the right hand, bringing either the hand or the forearm onto the thigh and the left arm long over the ear. And so we're going to work between those two. So inhale, we'll reach out and up, finding exalted warrior. Exhale, coming forwards and down. How strong and stable can we stay through the hips, the legs, the feet, while we're working between these two positions? And we want to really think about the sides of the body, particularly as we come over to side angle. This underside of the body is lifting away from the thigh. You could even bring your hands to the sides of the body for a round or two. We're going to get this stretch down the left-hand side, but is the right side lifting up away from the body? Or from the leg, rather. Let's take one more time through. And then we're going to work towards half moon. So we want our support this side. So if, like me, you're in the wrong spot, either move yourself to your support, or if your support's really movable like mine, just bring it to where you need it. If you're really comfortable with half moon or you're looking to challenge yourself, you can work without any support and either reach for the floor or reach for a block. We want whatever is our support to be roughly a foot in front of this front knee. And so from that warrior two position, we've got this right knee over the ankle, the left leg long. We're going to bring our hand down to our support. We hop this back leg in. Using that support, we then lift this back leg. So if you think about that gate pose we were working with our knee before, it's a really similar shape. Things that can help are keeping the gaze down, keeping that top hand on the hip. If you're looking for more challenge, you could shift the gaze to the side wall or maybe start thinking about reaching that arm up. But either way, we're lifting this underside up away from the floor. We're finding our smooth, steady breath. Let's see if we can stay where we are for two more breaths. And then we're going to do what we did with our gate pose. We're going to slowly bend that top knee, bend that top elbow in towards the body as we rotate back down. Now, depending on what your support is, you might like to come to it here and take a couple of cat and cows or some circles or figure eights with the hips, just loosening up in whatever way you like. If you prefer to come upright, you might take a standing spin or just find a little bit of kind of natural movement that feels good before we change sides. Beautiful. All right, now if like me, you figured out which side you need your support to be on, you might like to move it there now. So when we get to that point, it's there and waiting for you. Beautiful. All right, how did we start this sequence? It seems like a long time ago. We were doing those steps, weren't we? We were doing those sweeps back. So this time we're going to step back with the right leg. So if you want to take the right arm up and over with it as well, we can cycle that arm through. And then let's find that high lunge. So we're facing this front leg and we're working with this back foot. So we're easing ourselves forwards and backwards, trying to get some good movement through this back foot. We can hop that back foot in if we need. Just moving forwards, feeling what that feels like. If you want to start experimenting, taking the heels side to side, have a go at that, but make sure it feels supported and strong. If it feels like the ankle, the lower leg can't support this movement, just come forwards and backwards as big or as small as you need. If side to side feels good and you want to take some circles, you can. Beautiful. Our feet play a huge role in our balance, our stability, our mobility. Just working with that back foot in a really deliberate, small way for a moment. And then let's find warrior two. So the back foot is going to spin flat. We've got this front knee over the ankle. Thinking about that hip bowl for a minute, let's just straighten and bend that front knee a few times. Making sure it feels good for the hips. We sort of say in warrior two that we're facing the side of the room or the long end of the mat, but not at the expense of our hips. We don't want to sort of wrench them around past what feels good. So use this as a bit of a gauge as well. What angle do you need to face with your hips for it to be comfortable? All right, let's come back into that bend, pressing strongly through this front foot. Maybe the feet are going to press away from each other. Maybe that helps your legs and your glutes activate here. And then we can bring the arms out wide, finding the left fingertips for the gaze, smooth and steady with the breath. And you feel that space expanding. It's almost like it's expanding from the center of the ribs all the way out through the collarbones, the shoulders, the arms, all the way to the fingertips. And then let's find our side to side. So exalted warrior, that left palm turns up. We lift the left hand up high while that right hand touches down on the right leg. And then we'll come over and through, bending the forearm, the hand, or the left forearm onto the thigh, reaching the right arm over. So strong out and up. And strong forwards and down, really focusing this underside of the body, lifting away from the thigh, even as we lean over. Great strength for the torso. And thinking about that half moon, this is preparing us for what's coming next. We're moving into that shape. We're getting used to activating this underside. So when we bring our weight fully onto the front leg, we've got some idea. It feels a bit familiar. We're already a bit switched on there. All right, let's head there with your next breath if you like, knowing you can always come back to this movement anytime you need. Let's bring the top hand to the hip as we hop the back leg in and find your support here. So these left toes are pointing towards your support. We've got the hand firmly underneath the shoulder. When and if you feel ready, we can lift that back leg. So the chest, the belly, the front of the hips are opening to the side of the room. Smooth, steady breath here. If you were looking for a bit more challenge, you might shift the gaze to the side wall. You might lift that top hand. If you're really familiar with this pose, or if you come back to this practice during the week, you might even want to play with, what does it feel like to lift that hand off the support? Chances are it feels a lot more wobbly. If you're having a super wobbly day or you're really not finding this position and you want to have a try, a great option is to come and bring your back along a wall and work with your bottom kind of just touching into the wall. You can work with the bottom coming off the wall and leaning into the wall. Let's take one more breath, wherever is working for you. And then let's tuck that top elbow, top knee in towards the chest as we rotate down, bringing both feet down. Again, if that support's at a good height for you, can you work with that support to find a bit of a release through cat and cow? Maybe you want to come upright, you can find a roll, a spin here, whatever feels like a good release for you. Beautiful. All right, we're going to come through one last standing mini sequence here. Just popping our chair out of the way. We're done with that one for now. A lot of our warrior poses, our half moons work with an external rotation. So the hips heading that way. So we're just going to play a little bit with going the other way. So bringing the feet hips width apart, maybe a little bit wider. We're going to bring a bit of a softness into the knees. We're going to shift our weight slightly to the right foot as we lift the left heel and spin that left knee in. We're not trying to spin our whole body. Everything else is staying still, but we're just turning the thigh and the knee in. And then we're going to spin out and switch sides. So shifting a little to the left, just a little dip of the knee in. Chances are most of us won't be able to move far in that direction at all. It's not a common movement. If it gives you knee pain or hip pain, I want you to just come to a chair pose, sit the bottom back, feel that squeeze in of the legs. But if it's feeling okay, let's just take a couple more. And we want to take it nice and slow. Sometimes we sort of do that standing spin where we do this swiveling movement with our heel, but this is a really deliberate rotation of the hip and then controlling it back. If you want to, you could try your feet a little wider, a little bit of a turnout and a little bit of softness in the knees. It's almost like the start of our goddess squat. And then same thing, we shift towards one side while the other knee is going to rotate in. And coming back out, a little bit of a sit down in between. Then we're going to come up a bit and spin that knee. And it's mostly this thigh. It can be really nice to have your hands on top of the thigh because it really kind of points out to us how much that leg is rotating. If this is feeling pretty comfortable, you want to add some arms in. As we sit down, we can reach out wide. Then as we turn this outside leg, we can bring that hand and wrap it around the body. Again, we're not twisting our whole body. We're staying quite still, but the hand can just wrap. Reaching out and a little bit of control. Very subtle movement. Let's just take one more each side. Nice one. And let's press ourselves up tall. Walking the feet back in. And let's just find chair pose for a moment. If it's comfortable, you might like to bring the legs together for this. We don't often do it, but that connection all the way down the inside of the legs can feel really nice. If you prefer hip width, that's completely fine as well. Either way, let's sit the bottom back. Really squeezing into the midline. So we're either squeezing legs to legs or into that imaginary block. We're nice and spacious in the lower back, in the lower belly. These lowest ribs are tucked in line with the body. We're long through the spine. And then let's just inhale, sweep the arms forwards and up. With our exhale, let's just fold over the legs, coming down to a forward fold. You might step the feet out if you had them together just for a little bit more stability here. Can you soften into the knees? Can you feel almost a drape of the upper body over the legs? Almost like a standing child's pose. The hands can hang or hold wherever you like. Then let's soften the knees and just start a slow walk out. So bringing ourselves gradually to downward dog. Maybe checking in with the backs of the legs nice and slowly and steadily. When you feel like you're ready, a slow release to all fours. Maybe a bit of a side to side with the hips here. And let's just take the bottom all the way over to one side. We're going to step around towards a deer pose. So with both feet flat on the floor, let's tuck the left foot underneath the right thigh. And then tuck the right heel around towards the bottom. We can squiggle the feet so the hips feel comfortable and settled here. We're going to rotate a slight bit towards this left knee and just walk the hands out wide. You could have their palms pressing down, or it can feel really nice sometimes to sit up on the fingertips with the palms lifting. We're just going to take a flow of rolls here. So with our exhale, let's lower the belly, the chest, the head. With our inhale, lifting from the heart. So a bit of a round through the spine as we lift back up. And then exhale, it's like we're pouring the body down towards the floor. And then lifting back up. Can you feel that space in the body, that contact over the leg as you fold? As you lift up, that stretch and space across the chest. And you might like to continue with this sequence, or as you fold down, you might like to find a place to stay, maybe bringing the forearms around in front. You could find somewhere to rest the head. If it feels good, you could reach the arms long, just adding whatever little extras you need to make this a really lovely, supportive place to be for a few breaths. Can you feel the way that your body just softens over that bent leg? Like with our child's pose, can you feel the breath expanding into the back? And then let's gently, slowly support ourselves back up. Swapping those legs over. Let's bring the right leg around in front. Let's tuck the left heel around near the bottom. Readjusting so we're facing this front knee, fingertips out wide. Exhale, a slow release over the leg. And inhale to lift back up. Working with your breath here. If you'd like to, after your next exhale, finding that comfortable place to stay, where we get a nice sense of length and stretch around the outer hip. Let's stay for 2 more breaths. And when you're ready, supporting yourself up, and let's make our way down onto our backs. Supporting yourself down slowly, gently. Planting the left foot flat. Let's extend the right foot up towards the ceiling, maybe holding on behind the thigh, letting the back of the hips sink into the floor as this right heel pushes up towards the ceiling. And let's gently draw that heel down, hugging the knee in towards the chest. And release for that right outer hip. And then let's cross that right leg over the left. Shifting the hips just a little bit to the right and letting both legs fold away across the body, finding our twist here. If you want to add a pillow or a support underneath the knees, you can do that. It can feel nice to let the arms expand out wide and feel that space across the chest. And just feeling into our anchor here, so the parts of the feet, the legs, the upper body that are supporting us here on the floor. With our inhale, can we just notice where those sensations are? With our exhale, allowing the body to soften and settle. And then let's gently unwind. Bring the knees back to center, the hips back to the center. Let's plant the right foot flat this time. Taking the left heel up towards the ceiling. Just a breath or 2 into the back of that left leg. Whatever angle that leg needs to be on is okay. It's about the sensation and the experience. Now let's bend into that left knee. Can we draw the knee towards the chest? With a hug and a squeeze here. And then gently releasing, crossing the left leg over the right. Maybe a little bit of a shimmy of the hips to the left, just to give us that space to fall gently into our twist. Adding whatever supports you need. If it feels good to expand out wide with your arms, you could do that now. Maybe taking the gaze away to the left hand. And slowly unwinding. Making your way to your comfortable resting place, taking any last movements you like, adding any layers, any supports that you need. you settle in, perhaps taking a full deep breath here, letting go with a sigh. Maybe repeating that process again, filling up the lungs, the chest, the belly, and letting it go. Just going to talk us through a gentle body scan, an opportunity to check in with different parts of the body and allow them to soften and settle down towards the earth. So I invite you to notice your toes, the tops of your feet, the bottoms of your feet and your heels. With each exhale, allowing them to soften heavily down towards the floor. Noticing your ankles, your shins and your calves, the fronts and the backs of the knees. Inhale, noticing any sensations there. And exhale, just allowing a sense of softness and heaviness through the lower legs. And now to the thighs, all the way around the upper legs, to the hip bones, the pelvis, the bottom. Just noticing whatever's there for you. With an exhale, allowing it to soften, to settle, to release. Noticing now your belly, your lower back, your chest and your upper back. As you exhale, softening into the soft support underneath you. Just feeling that support of the floor, the earth holding you here. Now through your shoulders, your arms, extending down to the hands and the fingers. Perhaps noticing that soft, gentle curling of the fingers. Just feeling a sense of the arms being supported. I'm totally relaxed here. Noticing now the neck, the back of the head and the top of the head. Gently resting. Scanning down through the face, just noting any points of tightness or tension. Perhaps with your next exhale, allowing them to soften. And softening down through the jaw, the throat, back down to the heart. And the sense of softness expand through the whole body, just for a few moments here. Slowly starting to draw your breath in a little deeper. Bring some small movements to your fingers and your toes when you're ready. You might like to draw the knees in towards the chest, curling up tight, or you might prefer to stretch out long. When you're ready, making your way back to a tall, supported seat. Find that place where the hips are supported, where the spine is tall. Just allowing the hips to sink and settle into the earth underneath you, knowing that we're held here. I invite you to join me just for one last arm flow, that big reach out and up. And coming back down through center with your exhale. Bring the thumbs to the heart. From my heart to yours. Hope you have a really lovely evening. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have a great week ahead. Thank you.